All right. Welcome to the Big Ticket Life. Another great episode where I've got a great guest who's doing life and business on his terms. My guests, we break the rules. We see the opportunities. We've had the struggles. We've had highs and we've had lows. And yet we've always remained focused on the goal of life and business made, built on our terms for ourselves and the success of those around us, those most important to us. That's how we live our big ticket life. And we celebrate that success because we live the big ticket life. If you're going to live a big ticket life and do business in life on your terms, you got to do big things. It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today. And so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it. The things that make your life successful so you do life and business on your terms. All right. Well, our guest today is the co-owner of Roda Marketing, customer-focused digital marketing agency that serves clients nationwide. He's also the co-owner, and this is very cool, of madeoutofmetal.com. That's something that's just launched. They create magnificent metal decor and other high-quality metal pieces for every type of occasion. Matt has a loving and beautiful wife, Helen, and two precious daughters, Caroline and Amelia. And both Caroline and Amelia are both very, very excited. Big sisters soon to be, because you've got twins.
Yes, sir.
You've got a double dose of joy coming this summer. And you share their home with two dogs. I do the same. Your dogs are Athena and Buddy Boy. And when you're not spending time with your family working on the business, Matt is training in his home gym for something that I just admire immensely, because I think you could tell between the two of us which one runs 50-mile races. Matt, welcome to the Big Ticket Life Show.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it, man. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So you know, we touched in the pre-show. Chris, our producer, said, Jeff, get the Hulk hand. So I just like to wear these every now and then. This is my alter ego. This is kind of like how I strap in to do business. Incredible Hulk as a kid was something that I grabbed onto, laying in a hospital bed, dealing with epilepsy. You know, it was very connective for me to kind of be the Hulk in my own way for myself at that time. How about you? What's your alter ego? How do you get in that mindset?
Yeah, I've never really committed to one specifically, but I had a buddy a couple years ago after I took a photo after one of the it's called Savage Race. I did an obstacle course race. Yep. He was like, dude, you look like the Wolverine. And I'm like, he's pretty badass looking. Like, I can live with that. So sometimes I like to imagine myself with like the claws out, like Wolverine style, but nothing I've ever like branded myself as. But as I watched your podcast and I saw like you, and then Brandon had his alter egos, and I'm like, you know, I got to come up with something. So
Ric Flair.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I mean, I think it's important for all of us as we go. Oh, see, you're gonna bear with a couple little tech glitches today. In the art of being disciplined, we're always trying to make this show just slight edge, a little better. And I took a step back messing around with the audio. So I just knocked the microphone over in typical Jeff Chinakovo fashion. But sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for people and to be comfortable with, to say, you know what, I got to strap on the armor a little different today.
Yeah.
And to be all right with that and to communicate it. Like, just that exercise in itself, I've noticed since hearing and where I got it from Brandon Brittingham, guest on I think episode 4 of Big Ticket Life. I mean, just in doing that exercise in itself has given me the ability to say, this is how I am, this is what I'm here to do, and let's all get on board with it. I think that's a really good, almost like cathartic exercise for people to do, because this world wants to I think you'd agree. It wants to put everybody in a box and in a place.
Yep. Yeah, you got to find a way to bust out of it constantly.
Yeah. So before we go too much further, I just want to say again, congratulations on the growing family.
Thank you.
I think it's just awesome. Were twins something you expected?
No, not at all. Helen's one uncle is a twin, but his sibling died in utero, I guess it's called. So they never really had twins like in real life. But no, we were not expecting it. We were happy to be going for our third. Helen was getting sick way more with this pregnancy for the first probably like 8 weeks than she had with the previous two. And she was like, oh, it's got to be a boy because like I've never experienced morning sickness like this. So I think it was our 10-week ultrasound that we went in, and she was talking to the nurse and was like, yeah, I'm way sicker than I have been. And she got the little wand out, was like rubbing her belly. And she's like, oh, I know why you're sick, sweetheart. Like you have 2 babies in there. We were like, all right. Like, I mean, I immediately like went in for a kiss, and I was ecstatic from the second I got the news. She was like super happy, a little nervous, but super happy. And then it's funny getting people's responses, because some people are like, oh my God, like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, what are we going to do? Like, one kid is a blessing. Like, we just got gifted with 2. Like, I'm over the moon excited about it. So yeah, we're thrilled.
Yeah. Yeah. I still, folks always say about having kids and growing a family, the people who say, oh, it gets easier the more you have. I'm not so sure I agree with all that. And you'll be able to maybe journal this out, share it out. Like if having 2 at the same time is any easier or not.
Yeah.
I love celebrating family and celebrating tradition and seeing people create kind of like these legacy type milestone once a year, family vacations, things like that. Like I love seeing that. So again, congratulations. I think it's
Thank you, brother.
I think it's really, really cool. So I titled this show The Discipline of Being Disciplined for Success. And I think someone who is into fitness as you are, into running races as you are, doing the work on yourself from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from a business standpoint, from a personal family standpoint, I think you are probably one of the best guests to have on this topic. So let's just kind of define what it means for you. What are your thoughts on like the discipline of being disciplined as it relates to people who, because we just turned the calendar in the new year not long ago, who go through the exercise of resolutions? What's the difference in your mind there?
I think the word consistency just constantly comes to mind with me. And some people, the people that know me best know that what I do does not come easy to me. I work out 5 or 6 days a week, usually twice a day. I eat really well, 95% of the time. I'm reading the personal development books once a morning, 10, 20 pages. A lot of the 75 hard tasks that you do, I've just kind of made a lifestyle, but it's not easy. I mean, I can even say last night, my wife went to a doctor appointment with my daughter, came home, and we were planning on going out to dinner, the 2 of us, but my daughter got a fever. So that kind of threw our plans out of whack, and we canceled them. And she was like, oh, I wasn't planning on cooking. And we had our reveal party Saturday night. So there's tons of cake in the house, and there's like little, chocolate covered pretzels, like things that I love eating. And every part of me last night was like, let's just get pizza. Like I'm on day 16 or 17. Like I'll go back to day 1 tomorrow. Like I just want to like indulge. And trust me, 95% of me wanted to do it, but there was like 5% that was like, just stay disciplined, like just get through this next meal and make the right decision. And then that momentum can carry to the next moment. And then, tomorrow, like get through today and be on point, and tomorrow's a new day. So for me, the discipline of being disciplined is just that consistency of discipline. Like there's so many times where I'd rather do something else, but I just don't, because I know that if I'm not disciplined about being disciplined, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. It's just, I don't know if we'll get into this, but like growing up, I was addicted to a whole bunch of stuff, and I was really heavy into it. And then I stopped, and now I'm really heavy into what I'm doing instead, which is all healthy stuff. So for me, I like an extreme personality, so it's all or nothing. So I know if I stop that discipline or break that discipline, the chances of me sliding not just an inch backwards, but going, 100 yards backwards is a real possibility. And it's not something I'm willing or happy to let myself do. So I just like brick by brick by brick have to keep building this new house that I've got.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want to get into the past stuff, I'm happy to have the conversation for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I share it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you do. So I think it's important, obviously this show reaches new people, both here live where you're watching it. By the way, comment where you're watching it right now. We could engage in comments, give us your feedback, give us your questions. You want us to dig into a point deeper, let us know. We will touch on what Matthew does in his businesses, but for the time being, like you touched on something, that 95.5 number, which really, if you think about it, is the next fractal layer of the 80-20 rule.
Correct.
It's off by one number, right? 96.4 would technically be the next fractal. And, I think where people really fail, like you said, 5% of me said this pizza's not worth it. And you chose to say to yourself, one meal is not worth giving up 16 days of hard work. It's not worth getting that failed photo, right?
Yep.
When you log it and you're honest with yourself, which I think is one of the most unique things about 75 Hard as a mental exercise, as a habit tracker, as a program. There's many things you can call it, but the one thing that I like the most about it is you got to be brutally honest with yourself. You can't, people. I'm sure people. I'm gonna use a bad word here, so I hope it's all right.
Cool with me.
Yeah, I'm sure people click fuck it. They're like, yeah, I didn't cheat today, but they had the pizza.
Yeah.
And that's I'm not saying this to call anybody else. So if you were on 75 Hard yesterday and I saw you eating pizza, I don't know that you're on 75 Hard.
Yeah.
But I think people being honest with yourself, that is that discipline of being disciplined.
Yeah.
And when we choose that 4 or 5% of ourselves, and we choose that hard, right? Because that's really what that choice was last night.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something we can celebrate and should use to propel our success forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I did 75 Hard 3 times last year. And I said the first time I did it. And during it, I was considering myself completing the task. So it's like, as an example, read 10 pages every morning. And if I started on page 1, I had to get to page 10. And in my mind, that was 10 for the first round, 75 Hard. That was 10 pages. So I would finish at page 10, close the book, I'm good. But, one page was half a page. Another page was a quarter of a page. One page was blank because it was before the next chapter. But I wasn't taking that into consideration. I was like, he said 10 pages and like 1 to 10 is 10, I'm done. And there were a couple other little things. Like I know I finished one workout at 44 minutes and then I walked back to my driveway from my run, and technically you're supposed to exercise for 50. And like for me, that exercise that day was running for 45 minutes. So 44 is not 45, like he says in his podcast. And, in back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I didn't really do that. But I got to the end of it and, I did 99% of the program properly. But it was that 1% that was just like eating at me. And I was like, God, like I did not give 110% on everything that I did. Yep. So I think I waited a week and, I shared this long post on social media, kind of called myself out for it. And I jumped right back into 75 Hard like a week later. And I was like, I'm not like, if it's 10 pages, I'm making sure like I'm reading 10 pages of content, not just 1 to 10. Like if I have to go 1 to 13 to get 10 pages of content, I'm doing it. And I was making sure like I'm working out 47 minutes every stinking time because I'm not going to accidentally do 44 minutes. So that's the level of, and my wife thinks I'm insane and crazy sometimes. And she's like, it was so close. Like who cares? And I get it. And I I don't disregard those comments, but to me, I just hold myself to that level of accountability that I did not feel great about saying I accomplished it, even though I did 99% of it. So that's what I love about that program. Like as you go through it, you just kind of create that mental clarity of like, I'm either doing it or not doing it. There's no gray area. It's yes, no, right. Yes, no, yes, no. And if you get to the end of it, you can say yes to every single thing for 75 days. pat yourself on the back, job well done. If not, don't give yourself the credit you don't deserve.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so much to unpack there that you shared. And I think we're going to turn the page into business because, and I'm going to focus there when you said you called yourself out. But first, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So if you're consistently, the goal is 45 minutes, but tomorrow it's 44. What's to stop? What's to stop Thursday? We recorded the show on a Tuesday if you're listening to it on audio. What's to stop 2 days from now from it being 43 minutes? And then 2 more days, 42 minutes. And then all of a sudden you're doing a 5-minute workout.
Exactly.
Right. And so dovetailing into business, going into business, that moment of calling yourself out. I'm sure your team follows you on social media. You're a digital marketing agency. I would hope they would, right?
Yep.
Did that do anything in the business at all?
No one from our team directly said anything, but this isn't meant to sound blunt or rude, but like, I don't care if they said anything. Like, to me, I do my best to lead by example, whether or not I know someone is following that example or not, because I can't control anybody's actions, let alone, 15 teammates or 20 teammates saying like, hey, I did this, so this is the level I expect you to live by. It's kind of an unspoken rule that if one of the leaders of the company is doing that way, business, life, fitness, family, etc., like, you got to carry the boat with us. And if you're not, and like that becomes apparent to us, and usually that's through the work that they produce for our clients, like, you'll get called out on it pretty quick, because I'm willing to call myself out on that same stuff. So it's a standard that we set.
Yeah, there we go. There was the point that I was hoping we'd get to for everybody who's listening, who leads a business that might be struggling. The act of calling yourself out and being accountable, not being this untouchable entity, this untouchable person, this infallible person, right? Not being that person in your business, I think, is very valuable. When you lead with an aura of invincibility, of perfection, I don't think that's the way to really lead. I think the way to lead is publicly, as you did, hold yourself accountable when we fail. Because if you're the kind of leader that just takes the pat on the back and the victory laps for the successes, I think your team around you, those who need to pick up the boat and carry the boat with you, which I love that you shared that too. I think at some point they just drop it and go find their own boat.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
Yeah. You said something, and I typed this out in my notes. I always kind of type out a couple notes on my monitor that I look at while we do the show. So I find a lot of people interchange the words consistency and constantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I look at it differently. I want your feedback on it. So as an example, I'm going to use you as an example. So Matthew is consistently happy because he's constantly seeking areas of joy in his life. Right? You see the difference there in the two? And I think if we look at your 75 hard examples, you are constantly looking to push yourself from that. Yeah, okay, it was technically 10 pages, but you knew it was a half page. So you consistently flip 10 pages in the book.
Yep.
But the next go around, you said, no, I'm going to read the full pages, right? So I always look at those two words very intentionally and try to, in the things that I do in my businesses, I try to look at how I'm constantly raising the bar and consistently be looking to do so.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So in like a perfect example in my life, with fitness and like the ultra races that I do and have done and want to continue to do, I'm consistently pushing myself, but I'm constantly pushing myself further. So I started off with 5Ks and, I got into like this is fun. Then I did I think a 10-mile Tough Mudder with my brother-in-law. That was a whole new challenge. So it was like, okay, that was cool, but I survived that. Like, it hurt, but I survived it. Then I did a Spartan race with him. That was, I think, 5 or 6 miles. And then I learned of there's these Spartan races, but they're 8 miles. So I did that. And I was like, oh, that was fun. And I did one that was 15 or 13 or 15 miles. And I was like, oh, that was really hard. Like, that was fun. And then I learned that there's these ultra Spartan races that are 30 something miles and 60 obstacles. So I was like, oh, I want to push myself to see if I could do that. Did that. Then I was like, 50 Ks. They sound like fun. Did a 50K. Then I was like, there's 50-mile races. Could I have done an extra 18 miles after those 32? Like, I don't know, but maybe. Let's see if I could do that. So did that. And I've done, I don't know, I think I've done 4 or 5 different 50-mile races. And, you know, now like the next horizon I'm looking at is 100K, which is like 63 miles. I'm like, okay, if, you know, I felt like dying after 50 miles. Could I have done another half marathon? Like, I don't know. Like, there's only one way to find out. Let's constantly push myself. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. You've got to have things you do consistently and make sure that you always honor those things. But in those specific tasks, whether it's business, finances, family, fitness, whatever, in my opinion, you got to constantly push the envelope in each one of those, because if you're just consistently, I mean, look at muscle growth and fitness. Like, if you're consistently working out, you know, lifting weights 5 days a week, you're going to get bigger, but you're going to hit a plateau if you're not constantly challenging yourself on adding more weight as you go, because your body adapts to what you've done consistently. So I think it's the consistency must come first, because without that, you can't do something constantly. But once you get that foundation of consistency built, then it's up to, if you want to, it's up to you to challenge yourself further and take that consistency to a new level by constantly challenging yourself further and further and further to see what you're capable of.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your definition of it. And it's really another way of saying the discipline of being disciplined, right? People pick these resolutions. They say they're going to develop new habits, but they lack the discipline to understand why it's important they do this for themselves. And then the way to structure it each day. And again, you know, 75 Hard as an example, it said, well, Chris had it on the screen, this is not a fitness program. This is a mental toughness program. You know, it's why gyms are starting. Like, if you're wanting to get into the gym, now's a great time to go to the gym, because it's empty. It's just back to the regulars, right? Or it's not, maybe not empty, but it's not as full. So let's talk about the personal stuff, right? So, you know, the consistency, the focus, the discipline of understanding where your backslide could be and where your backslide might be, to go back to those troubled times in your youth and young adult life. Walk the listeners through some of the stuff you struggled with there. Yeah.
So growing up, I was, you know, I say this all the time, and it's not arrogantly, but like, I was the team captain of our baseball team, basketball team. I always played like 1 or 2 grades above. So I was just athletically gifted. My identity was 100% tied to athletics, you know, 4th through 9th grade. First year of high school, basketball team, starter, point guard, captain. End of freshman year, I you know, hung out with a group of friends. We tried smoking weed. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the guys. That then became a habit over the summer. Sophomore year rolled around. The coaches knew which group of guys were like 100% all in on sports and which group of guys were in on sports, but also had their leisure, you know, fun with the drugs. I was in that new group now, so I kind of lost my starting position. Basketball just became like a headache to me. It was something I continued to do because I was good at it, but I wasn't passionate about it at all. I continued to be on the team sophomore, junior, senior year, just did not play much. I rode the bench, which was a major shock to my system, because I was always like the point leader and like, you know, the leader of the team. And then I went to not even getting playing time. So that kind of just like it was a gut check to me, but I was self-aware enough to know that I had done that to myself. It wasn't just like the coach was like, screw you, you're not playing more. It was like, you're making bad decisions and here's the consequences. So yeah, I mean, I got in trouble with the law in high school as well. I broke into someone's car, stole their ATM card, went to ATM, withdrew some money. You know, by the grace of God, I was 17 years old and 10 months at that time. Ended up having to get an attorney. He said to me, had you done that when you were 18, you'd serve time, because it was grand theft larceny. He's like, because you are a minor, like, you're going to get off probably because it's your first offense, with community service, paying back, etc. So I avoided some serious consequences with that one. I always say I had a guardian angel watching over me all my life, because I've done some really stupid things. College was no different. I didn't play any sports in college. Almost every drug you can imagine, I was doing it. Not everyone. There's the more I could count on a hand the ones I wasn't doing easier than the ones I was doing, because I was just doing it all. I was selling drugs. I got caught selling drugs, got kicked out of college. By the grace of God, got back into college that same semester because I was smooth enough to talk to the dean of students and like plead my case and make a cause for why I belong there. So I graduated in 4 years despite being kicked out of college. But, there I was arrested for selling drugs, got the whole fingerprints and mug shots and all that stuff, community service again. So like high school and college were just screw up years for me. Finished college, went out to California, got away from all the hard drugs, but was still smoking weed all day, every day. Just getting into like, not really having any passion or focus or clarity. It was just kind of like, life is fun. This is fun. Like I'm making ends meet. Like I'm having fun with my friends. And then I'll jump all the way to lived out there 5 years, same life consistently out there, just doing the wrong things. Came back here, took a year off from just like, I kind of just moved in with my parents. I was like, I just need to like get my feet on the ground. Was still smoking weed pretty much all day, every day. But went on a blind date with my now wife, and she was a teacher. Again, by the grace of God, I met her through a blind date. And after like 2 or 3 dates, she found out that I was still smoking weed, and she was, because I told her, and she was like, wait, you still smoke weed? Because our first date, like I told her everything. I was like, here's what I'd done. Like, here's where I was. Because I
laid it on the table.
Yeah. Like love it or leave it, basically. Like I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody ever. Like that's just not my style. And she left that first date. She was like, I went and called my friend who connected us, and she was like, what did you get me into? Like, did you know this guy's past? And she was like, he's a great guy. Like, give him a chance. And she was like, oh gosh, like, should I? And luckily she did. So I think on our third date, she found out that I was still smoking. And she that night was like, it's me or drugs. Like, I'm not putting my future, my career at risk because I'm a teacher. Like, I can't be around it. She's never touched anything. She's as straight as an arrow. And I remember that night, just like my aha moment was like, this is it. And I went home, got in my car, called my cousin, and was like, hey, I have a bag of weed that I don't want anymore. If you want it, it's yours. If not, I'm going to literally flush it when I get home. Went home, gave that away, and haven't touched anything since then. And like, my life has blossomed infinitely for the better because of that decision, because of that moment in time. But yeah, it was a rough upbringing. And I've got plans to launch some things in the near future to kind of carry that experience and hopefully give inspiration to people that it can be like an aha moment that changes everything for you. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm going to go down a path we haven't gone on the show yet, but I'm going to ask because you've said it 3 or 4 times now. You've mentioned by the grace of God, this happened, this happened, this happened, and it was all positive, positive outcomes. So, let's the grace of God when you were connected with Helen.
Yep.
On that first date, was there? Can you look back and recognize like God working, the universe working to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised Catholic. Went to church every Sunday, holy days of obligation. I was an altar boy, so like my life through high school. Mostly through grade school, and in high school, I kind of started like veering off the path a little bit when I started in life veering off the path. College kind of gave up my like upbringing with religion and stuff, but I've always had a very strong, thank God to my parents, I've always had a very strong foundation of faith. And even when I stopped going to church and I lost that, like the routine of church and religion, I've always been deeply spiritual and believed in a higher power, and like our paths are slightly defined, like we have control over them, but like there's also something else controlling our future and our journey. And just through all the mistakes that I've made, and I've always somehow avoided serious consequences. And I've had a fortune teller, like a psychic. My girlfriend back in the day got me a psychic reading for one of my birthday, and the lady was like, oh, like you almost died twice when you were doing some of those really heavy drugs. She's like, I could see you kind of were like, we're knocking on death's door. And I was like, it would surprise me because I've seen like some of my friends in certain moments look like they were about to die from what we were doing, and like, they didn't, thank God. But so yeah, I've always felt like, and we grew up with like angels and guardian angels. I've always felt like there's some higher power, I call guardian angel, watching over me and letting me make my mistakes, because you have to grow on your own terms and you have to go through struggles to get to like the good times, but kind of being like, okay, like just take a 1% change of like, you're going to make a big mistake, but like, instead of doing it this way, like 1% change that way, and it's not going to be as bad if you went this way. So yeah, I've always felt like there's something, someone, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, looking out of my best interests. And I just feel super blessed and fortunate for that, because it's got me through some tough times.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said the higher authority, higher power, God, whatever you might believe in listening to the show. But I really like how you touched on, there is that predetermined path.
Yeah.
And we've heard, if you're in business, if you're leading a team, we've always heard, you're meant for greatness in this world. But people make those choices and then they beat themselves down because of those choices, forgetting the fact, and I agree with you, we are all meant for greatness in this world, and there is a predetermined path for each of us. We have to get out of our own way. We have to make those choices, like the 5% of us that says pizza is not on the agenda tonight, right? Doing this bad thing, going to this party, connecting back with those old friends is not part of the agenda today and tomorrow going forward. I think those are things that we, through our own free will, we absolutely have to own and recognize, and take in and really, commit to, be disciplined, right? So that's very interesting that you share that. I mean, for me, I met my wife after, really a rough young adulthood, really just getting in the mix with some bad people. It was not good. And basically the wake-up call was a gun to the temple, me on the receiving end. And I, again, by the grace of God, to use your words today, and mine too, many other days when I've shared this story, I'm here to stand. But I will tell you, that was enough. And for me, I just did everything opposite. Like that was the slack adjuster I needed. Like I had so little control. The only thing I could do was say, I'm just going to do opposite. I have to be around completely different people. I have to run my day completely differently. And then in walks myself to a local bank, and I meet my wife, Stephanie. And that was about 6 months after making that decision. And I was still on that path of just doing things opposite. And much like your wife, straight as an arrow, great person, kind of like, I think my angel, so to say.
Yeah. I call her that all the time.
Yep. So yeah, interesting. And I'm sure people listening, I'm sure that there's Kevin, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you, Kevin Faulkner. I think there's many people that have had that, but again, don't, just rely on that predetermined path. Like we are meant for greatness. For some people, that's like, Elon Musk type level of greatness. For other people, the greatness is just being a tremendous father to your children. I know you had that. And unfortunately, I know I know I commented when your father passed, sorry for your loss. I know how long has he been gone now?
August. So whatever that is.
Coming up on a year. Yeah. So I know he was important. I think I just saw on social media you had another post, him up in the clouds. And
it was his birthday 2 weeks ago. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, like your father there, right? Like to me, I think part of his greatness was leading his family, 100%. Being there for you through all those times. Like so again, don't get caught up. I don't think we should get caught up in this. We need to be great like all these people we see on TV, all these people. I mean, it can happen like right in your own backyard.
Yeah,
it can happen leading in your business, leading your team. So you have this digital marketing agency. How many people on your team?
We have about 18 people right now.
Okay.
Most of them are independent contractors. We have myself, my brother, and his wife are technically like our full-time employees, like payroll and all that stuff. We have a couple teammates who are pretty much full-time in terms of workload, but independent contractors. And then we have probably 10 or so people who it's probably part-time work for them, work as independent contractors on like specific projects and tasks that we need help with.
Yeah. Now you laid out some pretty deep and important core values earlier. It's interesting to me. So your team largely is made up of people that don't work directly under your roof,
correct.
Right? They might, are they like virtual in the fact that they're overseas, or are they US based?
They're all US based. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but still, that's interesting to me. The level of success you have with Roda marketing, how you're leading that team, what you're doing, and how are you managed? How are you affecting the quality of work that you're doing from afar like that? That's very interesting.
Yeah. It can be a challenge. Again, like the universe, whatever's just, I feel constantly like I am smiled upon. And I know that probably sounds cliche to some people, but I just feel like the talent that we attract, I mean, the talent that we attract is 98% always what we're looking for. There have been moments where we hire someone thinking this is going to be a great fit, and within 1 or 2 months we're like, this just isn't working out, and we cut them loose, and we don't, no ill will or anything like that. It's just not the right fit. But what I could say to this point is everything that all those teammates do goes through like a checks and balance before it gets to our clients. So, we have social media content creators. We have my brother's wife is our social media manager. They create content. She checks it. And then it goes through Adam and my fingertips before it gets to the client. Same thing with blogs. We have blog writers. It gets checked by our editor. It goes to us before it goes to the client. So we've been able to maintain that level of attention to detail, and kind of like it goes through certain checks, because I just wouldn't be comfortable. And even if I hired what I think is the best human being in the world, the best writer, I just would not be comfortable saying like, okay, you wrote a great piece, send it right to the client without at least one other set of eyeballs looking at it. Because one of our, I don't know, maybe it's not a differentiating factor, but like we are obsessive about attention to detail. And that's in my personal life and in our business, just because, and responsiveness. Those are the two things that I think allow us to continue to grow year after year. A lot of digital agencies, and I've heard this from clients who left current companies and eventually came to us. Though our thing is like, if you email or call us, you're going to hear back that business day or the next business day at the very, very latest. And that doesn't mean we're going to get the task done that day, but you're going to be acknowledged that we got the task and it will get done. And clients are like, I used to email my web guy and I wouldn't hear back for 2 weeks and I'd have to follow up. And I'm like, that's just terrible business. Like, and good, like that's good for me, because if all I have to do is respond, and that allows you to feel more confident in my team and my results and services, and you're going to stick with me because of something as simple as responding one time, like, man, that makes my life easy, my job easy. So
it really, it really does. It almost seems like an unfair advantage when everybody else is sitting down and you're in the game running around, right?
Yeah.
But they choose to sit.
Yeah.
In that example, whoever that person was taking your now client's money, they choose to sit on the bench for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I can't imagine what they're doing. I'm like, that's not business ownership.
The thing in my retail business in the mattress store, we don't make anything, right? We have vendor partners, we sell. Sometimes there's issues, maybe a shipping damage issue, maybe a warranty issue. But we always push it forward and let the customer know, here's what's going to happen next. Here's the date you should expect a phone call if the factory is going to handle that service. And I hate doing that. Like the joy of local business, and one of the factors of owning a local business is you should own your service.
Correct.
Right? Like, be disciplined about it, as you are. We're going to get back to you same day. And if you hit us, I would imagine if you hit us at like 4:55, that's the kind of one you're jumping on the next morning, right? Like, whenever the clock runs out. Or maybe a better example, if the customer emails at 8:30 at night when everybody's already, because family's important, right? Yep. There always needs to be that part of the mix of the day of success. Family's important. So it comes back. But like for us, we're always, I'm fanatical about letting the customer know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And I want to own as much of that service as possible.
100%.
Because that's what makes, to me, that's what raises the level of customer experience and consistently keeps us in that 5-star rating all the time. That's what I do. That's my value add to the business. Yeah. So on that note, so you've got your brother as a business partner. I believe you'd said his wife, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So what's your value add? Like what do you bring to that dynamic? You're doing business with family.
Yeah.
So like, in my business, Ben and I are like yin and yang. I'm the visionary. I'm the architect. I'm driving hard with the new ideas, the new directions. And he's there to integrate. And he's we complement each other so well.
Yeah.
What's the dynamic there for you with Roda marketing?
I am you and my brother's Ben.
Okay.
You just summed it up perfectly.
We get it.
Yeah, that's exactly. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably just read or have recently read the book Traction. If you're using those phrases, I'm at the end of it now. But yeah, visionary for sure. And then my brother's definitely the integrator. He's like the payroll, operations, a lot of the project management, and I'm more of like sales, strategy, new ideas, like company growth and culture and all those things. So we definitely complement each other really well. I could not do a lot of what he does, whereas I don't think he could do a lot of what I do. And it just works.
Yeah. I mean, we're in the midst of producing a full-blown, like 30-minute infomercial. So it's going to be packaged for television, but produced for today's digital marketing. So there's like 9 chapters ranging anywhere from 90 seconds to I think the longest one might be 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay.
So we can slice and dice this up online. I can't sit in these pre-production meetings because it's like 27 pages of what looks like an Excel spreadsheet printed out. I just can't, it is so uncomfortable for me. And I just have to clarify to people. I say, look, I'm gonna appear grumpy because I am grumpy because I don't like this stuff. To me, I just want to get to shooting day and I want to get the finished product.
Yeah.
And this stuff in the middle is tough. Yep. So I think the takeaway for people watching, listening is, well, what would you give them to take away from this conversation?
Yeah, it's I was gonna say what we just talked about specifically, know your strengths and play to them. Just this year, beginning of this year, and I had my brother hears this, he'll agree to this. We had an uncomfortable conversation probably 4 weeks ago. And it was like, Adam, I need to delegate more of the day-to-day tasks that someone else could do and do probably better than me, to be honest, because that's time consuming. And when you add that up over a year, those 24, 50 hours are hours I'm not spending growing our business and doing things that I'm best at. And, in his mind, because he's the numbers guy, he's like, well, that means we have to pay someone to do what you were doing, which means less profit, et cetera. And I'm like, I get that. But by paying someone to do that, now I'm able to make 3 times what I just made for us because I have time to do what I do best. So it gets uncomfortable, and if you have business partners, it gets uncomfortable. If you have family that's business partners and you want to keep that personal part of it out, but it gets involved, that gets difficult and challenging. But it really comes down to what are you best at? Spend your time doing that and take as many tasks away that don't serve that purpose and give them to other people that can complement what you're great at, because they're probably even better at that than you thought you were. So, yeah,
I mean, again, in the theme, the discipline of being disciplined, right? Recognizing you're getting sucked into these tasks, into these daily things that need to happen. They're important. And I know people read a lot, get out of the $10 an hour work, the $50 an hour work, you're always looking to multiply, right? To where you're doing $1,000 an hour work. If you want to make $1 million a year and you're going to work 8 hours a day, you got to make what's about $2,800. What is it, the number? I think it's $2,477. So whatever, 24, you got to make about $300 an hour.
Yeah.
Every day for 8 hours a day.
Yep.
Every day of the year. So if you're stuck in that $25, $50 an hour work, it's not that you look down your nose at it. You don't look bad at the people who have to do that work, but you have to find the best people to do that work so you can be that visionary, that growth, what I call, in the big ticket life world, what I call moving into that investor seat in the business.
Yeah. Yep.
You have to think about your business like a board of investors does for a big bank owned or Wall Street owned type company, or a big privately owned company that has boards too. You have to think like they do. They come in once a quarter, they get the high level numbers, they got the key indicators of where this thing's growing, and they hammer in on them. Yeah. And then they go away for another 90 days and the business runs. That's what needs to happen for real success. So what are some of the new things you're focused on?
Yeah, the new business.
What did you remove yourself from?
Okay, so I removed myself from editing blogs, which is ridiculous as that sounds. We'd have our blog writers write really good content and they're really good at it. But I would spend my time this line should be bold, in my opinion, for like good formatting on a blog post on a website. I would choose this word over this word. And I'm decent at editing because I have good communication skills, like written, but I'm thinking, I did a video this probably a couple weeks ago on my Facebook page, but I was figuring I was working like, I think it was a couple hours per week on blogs. So then you multiply that out per month, and then you looked at a year, and it was like 3 to 4 days. So like 72 to whatever, 96 hours per year that I was literally just sitting there editing blogs. And I'm like, there's other people out there that A, enjoy editing, B, are better at it than me. And if I can like find someone to do that, that's 96 hours per year that I can spend, like, as an example, reading this book called Traction and figuring out, oh my God, like there's so much that we've not done as a business. Like we're in business 12 years now, coming into 12 or 13 years this summer. So we're not new to the game, but like sometimes I'm shocked that we're doing as well as we are because we're just winging it. Like we're literally like, kind of like 3 people and with a good team behind us, 4 people with a really good team behind us that are just winging it day to day. And it's like, oh, new client came in, process it. Okay, we got tasks to get done today, do them. And like, wait for the next client to come in. But like, there's never weekly meetings. I think I did that with Adam and Kat last year, 2 years ago, for like 3 weeks. We tried to do a weekly meeting and it just died off. And like, it was like, we don't need that. Like we're doing okay without it. So those 96 hours that I'm now going to save in 2022, I'm reading this book, I'm highlighting stuff. There's like online checklists and courses and like things that you can do. I'm doing those. I'm getting our leadership team, Adam and Kat, to do them as well. It just freed up so much mental space that like now my inbox isn't getting dinged 5 or 10 times a day with blogs where I'm like, God, I got to get that done before I can. And then, I always say by 5 o'clock, I look at the day and I'm like, I spent 0 hours working on my business because I was just working in the business the entire day. So even like, the time being freed up is extremely important, but I also feel just as important, or probably even more important in a lot of ways, is like the mental space that it clears up, because that to me is invaluable. Like now knowing that I don't have to do that, and we've hired someone that does it at a really reasonable cost. And, for the first 2 months, she would edit it, she'd send it to me, and I would do a really quick scan and be like, yeah, she's nailed it. Like she does a better job than I do. So it wasn't just like, I don't want this task, here, you go do it. I hope you're good at it. Give it to my clients. Like I still did that quality control. But now 2 months later, I don't touch blogs, and we're not getting any negative feedback from clients. It's not like the sky fell down, which I thought it would if I wasn't in control of it. So things like that, man. I absolutely love the direction we're heading.
That one, maybe Chris can work his magic again now that he did it once, I think on the last show. Business owners, like the little Georgie cartoon from Looney Tunes back in the day where he squeezes the pet and holds on to it, right?
Yeah.
Like so many business owners do that. They just hold on to the blog and editing of it. And like, I know what you're talking about. And blogs, then when you go format it on your website, there's an SEO component. Correct. Where there's certain steps that are advantageous. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. And all of it is important, but it doesn't mean you as the leader need to affect every part of it.
Correct.
And that's so important. In the process you just laid out, you just didn't turn this new person loose, untested on your clients. One of the things I like to say is you never practice on paying customers, right?
Yep.
You never deliver what you owe on paying customers without it being a process. There it is. There's a little cartoon. Chris is on his game. Chris, I think just save that as a bookmark in my file, because I'm going to probably reference it time and time again. But this is what business owners do, right? We hang on to everything, and really developing these habits, the discipline of being disciplined about letting things go and finding good people to help you carry the boat, as you said, is so, so important. So you made some room, 96 hours. I think you probably made room elsewhere in your life because, you've got these twins on the way, which is just so exciting. Yep. I'm sure your little girls are so excited about it too.
They're thrilled. Yep.
What's like the funniest thing they've said so far?
Oh man. Just the other night at the dinner table, Caroline, she'll be 4 in May. And I thought my wife must've told her to say it. She looks at me, she goes, Daddy, you're gonna have a lot of kids to take care of. And I'm like, I said, did mommy just tell you to say that? She goes, no, I just thought of that myself. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. Like, I am gonna have a lot of kids to take care of. But like, yeah, and just, I mean, watching them sing to the like my wife's belly, like pull her little
Oh,
shirt
that's
up and
sweet.
like look at the belly, like kiss it twice because they know there's 2 babies in it, and then just sing to it. Like, I just, yeah, there's so much in life I love, but like watching my family's at the very top of that list, and
Greatest
kids
thing we
because of
do.
that. Yeah, man, I'm so honored to be on this journey.
Yeah, it's if you don't think of it as the greatest thing you do, um, that's something I don't think listening to the rest of this podcast, any podcast, reading any book, if that's not your frame of mind,
Yeah,
get in it like right now.
yeah,
Um,
ASAP.
take the rest of the day off and go think about why that isn't the case, right?
Yeah,
You know, in the do you do the G Code app? Do you do
yeah,
G
yep,
Code? Yeah.
yep,
You know, every morning, first three things I'm grateful for are my wife and my two boys.
yeah,
Every day, the things I'm most grateful for. But to the free time thing. So obviously, family's growing, a lot of fun to be had there, and going to enjoy every minute. But you've added free time, obviously, because you got something new, which
yes,
is made out of metal. So
yes,
give me the
yeah,
deal there, man.
yeah.
This looks exciting.
So I love Roda marketing, and I love helping other people grow their business because it's just rewarding to see like your success helping other people experience success. I love every bit of that. But for years, I've also been like, I wish I had my own thing to grow and to like hold and touch and own and like deliver to the world, not
Mhm.
just a service, but like a product that I could
Yep.
own and like create the customer experience, the quality, like everything I do for others, do for myself. And I've tried on a couple different occasions to figure out what that could look like, and I've just one, two or three of them failed miserably pretty quickly. And probably like I don't know, 3 months ago, my buddy reached out. He's like, "Oh yeah, I helped some guy open up a barbecue truck. I'm doing sales and marketing and a little bit of capital, and he's like the master chef." And I'm like, okay, I'm like, that's a cool idea. I was like, maybe my initial thought was kind of do like a Shark Tank thing in Lancaster and be like, hey, we've got, we have a little bit of capital. My brother and I have a lot of experience with marketing and sales and strategy. If you have a passion or hobby and you want to turn it into a real business, like let's partner potentially and have people submit applications, et cetera, and find this like ideal dream partner who's great at something. And I went home and I shared that idea with him. He was like, yeah, it's kind of a cool idea. Like, let's consider it. And then like 20 minutes later, I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, oh crap, like I know someone locally. And we grew up next door neighbors. He's a couple years older than me. And I had seen him on social media. I'm still connected with him doing metal, like, plasma cutting cool metal pieces. And I know at least from like the naked eye, it looked like it was a hobby for him. Like it looked like something he's really good at, he enjoys doing, but I didn't think it looked like a legitimate business. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, Bob, like, just going to throw this out there. Like, if you were interested in turning this into a legitimate business, like Adam and I would really like to have a conversation with you. And he was like, interesting you say that. He works for Kellogg's, a big corporation here in Lancaster. He's like, we're on strike right now, and I've been off for like 6 weeks. And I'm just like at a pivotal moment in my life, figuring out like, what do I really want to do with my life, like in terms of career. And he's like, and I've always wanted to grow this metal thing into like a legitimate business. He's like, but I don't know how to do that. He's like, I'm really, really good at like running the machine and doing all the like the product cut and all that stuff and the design. But like beyond that, like I don't really know what to do with it. So I was like, okay, like this could be like, again, like the universe, like working in mysterious
I
ways.
was
And like,
just going to say,
yeah, like,
is this a moment of two
yeah,
predetermined paths
I
coming
100%
together?
feel like it has been, and it is. Yeah. So we pitched him the idea. He loved it. His wife, who's the CFO of some big, huge corporation, she's like super brainiac, and she wanted to ask some questions, and we got her on board. So I think probably 2 weeks ago, our LLC was officially formed. We've got that landing page up now. We've got a couple social media accounts like started. I haven't really pushed them yet because I don't want to. I'm walking the fine line right now of like dangling the carrot to let people know it's out there and it's coming, but I don't want to open the floodgates yet because we don't really have any products to sell because our e-commerce site's not up and running. So yeah, and I don't know if I can show this on air here, but like this is like some of the stuff that we're going to be doing. So like this is just Lancaster. So this is the coordinates of Lancaster. But we were thinking, it's like, you can't probably see here, but like it's thick, like, you can't bend it. Like some of our competitor stuff is flimsy where like if I put a lot of muscle into it, I could bend it. But yeah, like we're going to have custom orders. I don't know if you saw on social media, but Clint Riggin from Limitless Coaching,
Yep.
he
I saw
placed
you did something for him.
yeah, we're doing like a 3 foot by 3 foot with his logo cut out with yellow LED light shining through the cutout. So we've got some capabilities to do some really cool stuff. I've been studying our competition pretty much the minute our kids go to bed in the evening. Like Roda marketing is my day stuff. Family time is from like 4 or 5 to like 8, and then from 8 till about 10 before I hit the sack. Like I'm 2 hours into this made out of metal stuff pretty hard. But I've been studying the competition, and I'm like, there's some legit competition out there. There's some competition. I'm like, we can, not to be like arrogant, but like we can stomp on them. Like we'll beat them quick. But yeah, I'm super optimistic that this thing is going to be a pretty big thing within the next year or two. And I'm ecstatic about it because I get to think about the customer experience. Like, what do we put in the box when we ship it? Tag us and do this. Like, we're going to do a golden key every month where, like, if you get the golden key, you get a free $100 gift card. Like, open your box. So excited. Yeah. So like, there's so many things that I've learned through marketing other people's businesses that I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like now I get to like put this into motion for us.
There's nothing, like, again, as the visionary, right? To me, my favorite thing to do is to create.
Yep.
And when I get to create through trial and error, that's when I'm my happiest.
Yeah.
Now, there's moments where that works. There's moments where it doesn't work. I never create on paying customers, as I said earlier in the show, but like, so in the last 2 weeks, you said 2 weeks, this routine, 8 to 10, you're focused on made out of metal. Have you noticed anything like emotionally, mentally, where you're different? As a result of being in that creative mood for 2 hours. Yeah. Yep. Isn't that awesome?
I love it. Yep. I look forward to that 2 hours so much. It's like my happy place, one of my many happy places, but that's a happy place for me.
Yep. Yeah. Better than spending 2 hours like trying to win some points on like Facebook, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And my wife likes to clock out, and like, she's tired as shit by the end of the day from growing 2 babies and chasing 2 babies, and like she'll put on like Real Housewives of X County or whatever, and like that's one in the background. I used to just like sit there and watch it with her. She's like, "Are you gonna watch this?" I'm like, "It's background noise. Like I'm cool with it, but like my laptop is like my focus, and like I'll look up occasionally if something weird happens. You're like, you got to see this." I'm like, "Okay, I'm cool with that," but like now my focus is like I'm in it to win it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very, very cool. I mean, I'll say it here on the show. I'm going to be a customer. One of the things that I want to get from you, and we'll talk about it a little more, but yeah, if you've noticed some of the comments that I make on social media when people are celebrating a win, I never say you deserve that. I think deserve is an entitlement word.
Yeah.
I deserve pizza. Well, sure you do.
Yep.
Everybody deserves whatever they want. That's the world we live in. I think deserve is such a dangerous word that can slowly creep in and infect your mind in a way. And again, like if people are listening to this and you're saying, well, geez, Jeff, I type out what, you deserve that. Like, I don't think you're a bad person. I'm submitting it to you, watching and listening. And as Matt and I are discussing it, like, just think about the word and what it really means. Kind of like consistency and constancy.
Yeah.
To me, I say well earned, because that win, there was a lot of work behind that. And no one gave that person the win they're celebrating because they deserved it. They got it because they earned it.
They worked hard for it. Yep.
Yeah. So I always type out capital W, period at the end of L, capital E, period at the end of E. Enough said, well earned. Yeah. Like, congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's so important. So I want to talk with you later. We can talk about like well earned, maybe that can go up here on the wall.
Awesome.
Maybe a Big Ticket Life logo. I think that's like right for plasma cutting.
Hell yeah.
But like those little well earned cards, I think could be really cool to delight and surprise people that I work with.
Yep.
In helping their businesses grow. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that well earned thing because, especially with you today, I mean, how does the word deserve grab you? I mean, what?
I agree with you 100%. I feel like it's kind of like you deserve oxygen in the air because it's there and you need it to breathe, and like everybody gets it, but that doesn't mean like you worked hard for that or anything. So yeah, I never really thought about it much like that. I probably said, good job, you deserve it. But like, yeah, now that you're dissecting it, I agree with you that it's totally different than earning something. It's like,
Yeah.
you put in that work and you fought for it. Now it's earned, as opposed to just, I should have it. I deserve it. I should get it. Give it to me. Like, no, like you got to go through certain struggles and tribulations to get to that point.
Yeah. I mean, if you deserve it, so does everybody else.
Exactly.
Right. But if you went and did the work, you earned it. So I really like that. As we look to wrap up here our time together, one of the big things I like about how I work with people, the things that I do in my business is I focus on giving back to the community. What gets you going there? Are you focused on anything?
Yeah, so this year we just started, and it's taken us way too long. I'm not proud to admit that, but I am proud to admit that this year we started reaching out to all of our clients, not all of them, one per month, and asking them what their favorite charitable organization is, and then we're making a donation on behalf of them. So we started, maybe it was even earlier than this year, maybe like Q4 of last year. Kat, my brother's wife, came up with that idea. And I was like, I love it. Like, because A, we're giving it away, but also B, we're showing our clients how much we appreciate them by giving something away to their charity. And then in my personal life, and this was something that one of the videos that Ryan Stewman did, it's probably in the library, so it's probably not even a recent one. It's just I'm going through content that he's created now, part of Apex, was about the 70-20-10 rule of like 70% of what you earn should be living expenses, fun, etc. 20% should be investments, 10% should be charitable giving. I'm not doing it at those ratios because I'm just not there yet financially, but I'm implementing a ratio system now where every month we're personally from our own, family account giving money to different organizations. We just had someone on Facebook the other day say their friend had their house burned down. They don't have any, like their kids lost all their clothes and stuff. So we took the money that we had for February to donate and just Venmoed it to them. And we're like, here's a couple $100 that, hopefully it helps. And of course it's going to help. It's not going to make all the difference, but it makes some difference. So yeah, and my wife's a little nervous about it. She's like, are you sure? Like, does that make financial sense with twins coming? And I'm like, now's the perfect time to do that because the universe, and that's what this whole video is about. Like the universe rewards, and that's not why we're doing it, but the universe rewards that giving mentality. And you can't always say, when I get to X, then it makes sense to give. Like give today, even if it's a small amount, and then that amount grows with you as you grow as a person and financially. So it's a cool feeling.
It really is. How long have you been doing that? Not to put you on the spot.
That's just been since January. This is month 2. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's new. Yeah.
The universe rewards is definitely true. If you think about it, like, there's parables, there's Psalms not in the scripture, but Psalms more in the context of a short, pithy parable. There's you've seen it in a cartoon or maybe a little piece of art going around social media, art stores, gift stores. Something along the lines of the Lord never gives you more than you can handle, right? Mm-hmm. But if you kind of reverse that and think about if I continue to give and give and give more, mm-hmm. that abundance does come back.
Yeah.
And I've been on that for quite a while, and I can attest it continues to work.
Yeah.
You continue to see things come around. Through our show that Chris, again, I'll give Chris at Cast Ahead a plug. He's our producer of Big Ticket Life and of Lancaster Connects. We always give back to the charities that come on the show. We don't make a big public deal about it, but we always write a check to those that come on the show. And what comes of that is amazing. And more often than not, it's more connection to the community. Mm-hmm. And that's the exact reason we do that show. So again, if you're listening, like, I know, and very smart for you. Like, okay, going 70-20-10 was difficult. It's something you can work to, but mm-hmm. the discipline of starting.
Yeah.
And even if it's 95, and I don't want you to share, but even if it's 95, 2.5, or 97, 2 and 1.
Yeah.
That one is so important.
Yeah.
Because it will compound so much quicker than anything else. It's really, if you take anything away from today, there's 2 things. One, if family's not your greatest thing you're doing, go figure that out. That's most important. 2 is this giving aspect. Live in a world of abundance. Even going to Made of Metal, like you said, there's a lot of competition. There's good competition. There's bad competition. There's always competition.
Yeah.
But if you go into something in a scarcity mindset, you're going to fail.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like, so be in that abundance mode. Like for me, I don't worry about what my competitors do in retail. I don't care.
Yeah.
We can always go market a great message, and there will always be customers willing to come and do business with us because we solve their problems.
Yeah. Yep. Because of who you are, not necessarily what you sell.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Well, Matt, I really appreciate your time.
Likewise,
today.
this has been fun.
Yeah. I hope we kind of got into it. We talked about Roda marketing off and on, but if people want to get with you about all the great things you do at your agency, best ways to contact you there.
Yeah, rodamarketing.com. You can learn more about us. Matthew at Roda Marketing is my email address. That's pretty much like the main one that I use for everything. So shoot me an email there. You could go into MatthewRoda.com, which I saw you guys were scrolling there at one point. I've got a photo shoot that was just completed yesterday. I should get the photos tomorrow, which will go up on my site, MatthewRoda.com, tomorrow or the next day. So if you're going to that site and you're like, why does he have all the same photos on every single page? That just got launched like a day ago. So that will get updated. That's not an oversight on my behalf. It's just like a timing thing. But you could go there, shoot me a message on the contact page. Let me know what you're interested in. Matthew Roda on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm pretty active on social media. So however you want to reach out. I love talking to people, helping people. So if I could offer any value to anybody out there in any way, I would love to do so.
Awesome, man. Well, look, real joy to have you on the show. Again, congratulations on the growing family. You've got
Thank you.
August is a great month to have kids. That's my birth month, August 5th.
Yeah,
so
it'll be a little sooner than that. We're mid-July is the due date, but they won't go past 38 weeks. So we're expecting mid to end of June. Yeah, but it's soon. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, at least then, carrying twins in the summer
won't be too hot. Exactly. Yeah,
that's good. I don't know where I got August from, but I'm glad. I'm happy for Helen that it won't.
Yeah, agreed.
But if it would have been August 5th is the day because that's my birthday.
All right. My brother's August 4th. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, man, it was great to talk with you. Great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it.
And really appreciate you. We'll see you next week on the Big Ticket Life. Take care. If you're going to live a big ticket life and do business in life on your terms, you got to do big things. It's that kind of discernment, that kind of focus, that kind of forward thinking that's so important if you're going to succeed in business today. And so you unlock fortune and freedom without all the stress that normally comes along with it. The things that make your life successful so you do life and business on your terms.